The Christmas tree flickered, its lights casting jagged shadows across the living room. Each bulb a tiny pulse of false warmth. I stood frozen, the DNA test results trembling in my hand, the paper crinkling like dry leaves under my tightening grip. The twins' laughter echoed from upstairs, their voices bright and oblivious, while my world crumbled beneath the weight of a single sentence. Paternity excluded with 99.99% certainty. My wife, Sarah, hummed in the kitchen, oblivious to the storm brewing in my chest. The envelope, tucked into my coat pocket for weeks, had burned against my skin, but now its truth scorched my soul. I'd suspected for months. It started with small things, her phone angled just out of sight, her late nights at work, the way her eyes darted when I asked about her day. Each clue was a splinter under my skin, too small to justify confrontation, too sharp to ignore. I'd rationalized it all. She's stressed, she's busy, she loves us, because doubt was easier than truth. But the twins, my 6-year-old anchors, weren't mine. The proof was here, in black ink, undeniable. My knees buckled, and I sank onto the couch, the fabric rough against my palms, the air thick with the scent of pine and betrayal. Sarah's voice floated in, soft and melodic, as she arranged cookies on a tray. "Babe, you want to help decorate these for the kids?" Her tone was warm, practiced, a lie wrapped in sugar. I clenched my jaw, the muscles aching, and forced a response. "In a minute," I said, my voice a stranger's, hollow and distant. The room spun, the festive garland above the fireplace mocking me with its glitter. How long had she known? How many nights had she kissed me, her lips carrying someone else's secrets? I replayed the last year in my mind, searching for the moment I'd missed. There was the business trip she'd taken last spring, her suitcase packed with new lingerie I hadn't seen her wear. The way she'd laughed too loudly at a text during dinner, brushing it off as just a colleague. The late-night calls she took in the garage, her voice muffled but urgent. I'd wanted to believe her excuses, to preserve the life we'd built. The twins' drawings on the fridge, our shared coffee ritual each morning, the vows we'd whispered under starlight 10 years ago. But love blinds you, doesn't it? It wraps you in warmth until the knife slips in. I stood, my legs unsteady, and moved to the window. Snow fell outside, silent and relentless, blanketing the street in a false sense of peace. The neighbor's inflatable Santa swayed in the wind, its grin grotesque under the street lamp's glow. My reflection stared back, a man unraveling, his eyes hollowed by grief and rage. I wanted to scream, to shatter the glass, to demand answers. But the twins were upstairs, their footsteps thumping as they chased each other, and I couldn't let this truth taint their Christmas. Not yet. Sarah appeared in the doorway, her apron dusted with flour, her smile faltering as she saw my face. "You okay, David?" she asked, her voice tentative, like she sensed the fault line cracking between us. I nodded, my throat tight, and turned away, pretending to adjust an ornament. Her footsteps hesitated, then retreated to the kitchen. The clatter of dishes resumed, but it felt forced, like a performance for my benefit. Did she know I knew? Was she waiting for me to break first? The DNA test wasn't planned. It was a whim, a late-night impulse after finding a receipt for a hotel I didn't recognize. I'd ordered the kit, swabbed the twins' cheeks during a game, and sent it off, half hoping it would prove me wrong. Now the results were a guillotine, severing the life I thought I had. I slipped the envelope into a drawer, its edges worn from my constant handling, and pulled out another document, the private investigator's report. It was thorough, clinical, devastating. Dates, times, and name, Michael. Her co-worker. His address was listed, a street just 10 miles away, close enough for her to slip into his bed while I tucked our children in. I'd hired the investigator after the hotel receipt, my paranoia outweighing my guilt. The photos were grainy but unmistakable. Sarah and Michael, their hands brushing in a coffee shop, their bodies too close in a parked car. Each image was a punch, stealing my breath, leaving bruises no one could see. I'd stared at them for hours, searching for a flaw, a misinterpretation, anything to undo the truth. But there was no escape. She'd betrayed me, betrayed the twins, betrayed the family we'd sworn to protect. Dinner was unbearable. The twins chattered about Santa, their faces smeared with mashed potatoes, while Sarah passed me the gravy with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. You're quiet tonight, she said, her tone probing, a fisherman casting a line. I shrugged, my fork scraping the plate, the sound grating against my nerves. Just tired. I lied, my voice thick with the weight of unsaid words. The twins didn't notice, but Sarah's gaze lingered, her fingers tightening around her glass. She knew something was wrong. The air crackled with unspoken questions. A storm waiting to break. After the kids were in bed, I poured myself a whiskey, the burn grounding me as I sat at the dining table. Sarah joined me, her movements cautious, like she was stepping around broken glass. David talked to me, she said, her voice soft but edged with fear. I met her eyes, searching for the woman I'd loved, but all I saw was a stranger wearing her face. Who's Michael? I asked, my words sharp, slicing through the silence. Her face paled, her breath catching like a trapped animal. What? She whispered, her hands twisting in her lap. I slid the investigator's report across the table, the photos spilling out like poison. She stared at them, her eyes wide, her lips trembling. David, she started, but I cut her off. Don't, I said, my voice low, venomous. Don't lie to me anymore. The room felt too small, the walls closing in, the Christmas lights mocking us with their cheer. She cried then, her sobs jagged, her excuses tumbling out, loneliness, stress, a mistake. Each word was a dagger, twisting deeper. I love you, she said, reaching for my hand, but I pulled away, the warmth of her touch now a burn. You love me. I spat, my voice rising. You gave my children another father. Her eyes widened, the truth of the DNA test dawning on her, and she collapsed into the chair, her face crumpling like paper. The next morning, Christmas dawned cold and gray. The twins tore into their gifts, their joy a stark contrast to the hollowness in my chest. Sarah watched from the couch, her eyes red, her silence heavy. Under the tree, I'd placed 3 envelopes. One for the twins with the DNA results, one with Michael's address, and one for Sarah, divorce papers signed and final. I handed them out, my hands steady despite the earthquake in my heart. Merry Christmas, I said, my voice cold, as Sarah's face drained of color, the truth unwrapping itself like a gift no one wanted. The twins, oblivious, hugged me, their warmth a fleeting anchor. Sarah stared at the papers, her hands shaking, her world unraveling as mine had. I walked out into the snow, the cold biting my skin, the future uncertain but free. The betrayal was a wound, but I'd survive it. For the twins, for myself, I'd rebuild, one painful step at a time.